Welcome to Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. It's good to have you along. And today talking about something that affects not only people in the Western Cape, but people around South Africa as well, and around the world. But let's not go that far. We're talking about the water crisis and something that is impacting all of us. And I'm not going to even try to mention your name, the full name, Abdu, but you can tell me, how do you say your name?
It's Abdu-Raof.
Abdu-Raof.
Yeah, quite
Okay.
simple.
Host of the Finance Forum TV talk show. So thank you very much. Of course, talk about finance on your show, but I talk about a variety of different things on my show. And today we are going to speak about the water crisis, and I see that you've been quite vocal about that, and so have I, and rightly so, because it's something that affects all of us. What are your views on that?
Okay, firstly, I think, Stephen, just to start out with, I come from a finance background.
Yes.
So everything that's finance concerns me.
Yeah, a budget
and budget and so on.
Yeah.
So in this regard, that too, when it comes to water, not specifically the act of God as far as rain is concerned, but as far as the management of this, it's all about money. It's all about money, it's all about finance.
Would you call yourself an economist?
I would lean towards that, yes.
Okay, so you studied
towards that, yes.
Okay.
So basically, Stephen, I think the first thing to say to our viewers is save water.
Absolutely.
Save water. And whatever you read in the media, at the end of the day, save water. But at the end of the day, when we look at the whole scenario that we're sitting in Cape Town at the moment, we're sitting in a crisis that, yes, is due to lack of rain, but is also mainly due to a lack of management and a lack of planning.
Human error.
Human error.
Yeah.
And I think many of your viewers and many of my viewers have engaged me because I've been very vocal about the topic of criticizing both our national and local governments for the lack of planning and the lack of foresight as far as this crisis is concerned.
But I do find it strange when you're in the Western Cape, right? When you challenge national government on an issue, no one says anything. It's fine.
Yeah.
You can get away with it. But as soon as you start attacking the Western Cape government, that's when people start raising their necks and saying a few things and getting a bit nasty, which I find really terrible.
You know, that's why
people want to hold on to that power.
I think that's why they're in power here, because they have a huge support in the Western Cape, and there's no getting away from it. It's the opposition that's running our province. And I must say, for many years in many sectors, the city and the province has been run exceptionally well.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, the water problem has not been so.
Well, that's just one problem. There have been other smaller problems,
as well.
Over the last 10 or going on to, I don't know how many years they've been in power, they started really well. But I think in the last few years, they've dropped the ball a bit.
You know, Stephen, when one looks at exactly where this whole thing started, it started in 2004. When a message was passed on to our then local government, who was the ANC, and it was said to them, it was said to them that we might have an issue in 2015. It wasn't definite, but we might have an issue in 2017.
So that was a warning.
2015.
So that was a warning, basically.
It was a warning. It was a warning. So take it or leave it. It might come, it might not, depending on rain. But in 2007, and bear in mind that in 2006 our current local government took over in the Western Cape. In 2007 a paper was delivered to the local government by UCT, and that paper basically outlined the issue, taking into account population dynamics in the Western Cape, the growth of our population, the growth of infrastructure, the growth of developments, and the alarming rate that developments were being approved in the Western Cape.
That so scares me that they are still being approved.
Precisely.
That should all be suspended pending this crisis.
And you know, at that time, they said 2015 is going to be a huge issue for us, for the mere reason that we might run out of water by that time. Okay, they were 2 years out. What our government basically chose to do...
I wouldn't say that they were... Well, it started, I think, in kind of 2014, 2015, that leading on to this.
But I mean, what they chose to do in that period, since 2007, right up to now, is build huge buildings at 100 million rand, spend money on a bus rapid transit system of over 30 billion rand, implement cycle lanes, bicycle lanes at the cost of 7 billion rand.
Which is
speed bumps all over the place.
Look, I understand about the My City. That's good because that actually started in 2010 under the leadership of Dan Plato.
Yeah.
But since then, 7-8 years later, nothing has changed. So since he left, since we've got the new administration in the council, the My City has gone nowhere.
It's gone nowhere.
But the money's still being pushed in. So
to the extent that there's some cash that's gone missing.
That's right.
And there's a huge investigation launched into the city at the moment for that cash. And hence, due to that, we've had various resignations, including the city manager, Mr. Abdu-Raof, who has basically resigned due to that, due to those allegations.
Who I also had massive respect for and who did a really good job. But until recently, couple of years, he's been terrible.
Yeah.
You could never get hold of him. He'd never replied.
Precisely.
And then I thought something was wrong because just an example, where I stay, we had a situation with the wall, and the wall was collapsing. It was an urgent thing, right?
Yeah.
And the city took 6 months to respond and to deal with it and to fix it. 6 months.
Yeah.
The wall, literally, they just pushed it and it fell over.
Now, Stephen, to come back to the My City issue, I mean, yes, it is a good thing.
Yeah.
We needed infrastructure, proper infrastructure as far as transport is concerned. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but I am saying that plan correctly. Look at your priorities.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have a good transport system, but it's another thing to be without water.
That's right.
So even if it meant cutting down on your development or extending the period of developing the My City transport system, and instead of spending all that billions in that, look at infrastructure that would maintain the vital resource that keeps us living.
Do you know how much council gets budget-wise each year?
It's a huge amount. It's a huge allocation, and I mean that was budgeted into the national government. And that's why in the beginning I said this is an issue that's not only pointed at the Western Cape, it's also pointed at the national government, because the allocations that's given to the Western Cape government comes from national.
Which I think that they have given an allocation, but the city hasn't responded to that.
And also, it's their responsibility to negate exactly what is important and what is not. So I'm the chairman of many organizations, and when it comes to budgeting, if something gets put on the table and there's an urgent need for something else, it's our duty to basically turn it down. So that's where national government could have come in. And if we look at what's happening in Voortrekker Road, Bellville at the moment, there's a huge new complex being put up at the cost of 100 million rand.
Are you sure? 100 million or 100 billion?
100 million rand.
Which is still a lot of money.
Which is still a lot of money. 100 million rand. And funny enough, that building is going to be housing the water and sanitation department.
Nationally or locally?
Nationally. But I mean, that could have basically been allocated. Excuse me, it's local. It's local. It's not the ministry. It's a local government building. So that's a local government building. 100 million rand pushed that way. I don't even want to touch on the urban parks that have been developed. It's one thing to beautify our city, but it's another thing to take the responsibility of looking after your citizens that put you there.
I think all development should be suspended because I see so many places being built. Where's the water going to come from? And that's a horrifying situation. I understand recently that they've only declared Cape Town a disaster area recently. What took them so long?
You know, at a cost of 2 billion rand, which they are trying to claim from the ratepayers at the moment in Cape Town
for their mistake
made.
Come on.
They've spent close on 40 billion rand on fancies. I call it fancies in the Western Cape, in Cape Town. What was it just to put aside portion of that, knowing that the trouble was coming? No one in the local government or national government can honestly say that they didn't know about this.
But I know that there's a lot of embassies as well that have gotten involved and apparently have given money. Where's that money gone? So there's lots of question marks and red flags, that things that don't add up, and which is concerning. And
so I mean, when one looks at it, what's the plan forward? But the issue we have at the moment is there is no plan forward.
We're planning for day zero.
We're planning for day zero.
Terrible.
We've been charged basically for infrastructure, but there's no plans for infrastructure. So 10 years down the line, are they going to come back to us? Well, not 10 years, a year down the line, are they going to come back to us and say, sorry, we don't have enough money, we need more money? what are we paying for? And I think it's the duty of every single Cape Townian to stand up and ask, what is our money being spent on? You want to charge us more, that's fine.
But how much, these sites that they've built, right? They've built those 200 sites. How much did that cost? What is going to be in the involvement with that? They basically have planned for day zero. They've planned for it. Not doing anything else to plan for more water. They planned for day zero. So they're basically giving the residents of Cape Town a big middle finger, which is sad. It really is sad.
And you know, the saddest part about it is before this new raised I would say increase in water tariffs. There was this levy that was proposed by the Cape Town Mayor.
Which had not.
And
they've stripped over power as well, the water crisis.
Absolutely. And for that, I don't blame them for doing it. At the end of the day,
too late though.
A levy what's the job of the levy? Basically, you want to tax the people who have been saving water because you're not getting the water bills in because people are saving water. So you want to tax them because you're not getting enough money in.
But surely with somebody with a legal mind could have challenged the city and said, look, we're paying for a service, as with Eskom, when we had the load shedding. We're paying for a service that we're not getting. I'm sure if somebody went to the High Court and challenged the city, the High Court would have granted in that person's favor to compel the city to release reports and to say what's going on and to deliver a service, which they're not doing. Because we pay for a service. Not like we get water for free. We pay for that service. So we haven't got that service. It is sad. But my suggestion would be to have rolling day zeros. So instead of having, similar to load shedding, like you have, for one day we have a certain area off, then we have this area off, and then I would be rather without water for a day rather than forever. And why haven't I started doing that? That's my question.
The saddest part about all of that is that in the last 11 years, something could have been done. Irrespective of how empty the dams are now, Cape Town has a huge resource of water, a huge pile-up of water that's just flowing to the sea. And recently I shared a video on social media where one of the vloggers basically goes down under the city of Cape Town to go and explore the canals under the city.
I've seen that.
And 7.5 billion litres of water flowing into the sea every single year, and no taps running from there. And same thing in Newlands. So my question is, when are Cape Townians going to wake up?
And we should be recycling the grey water as well. Where's all that water going? But no, I hear that they're selling it off to this person and that person, and it's all money that should be used to better us, but it's not. There's so much that doesn't add up, that doesn't make sense, and that's just very sad.
The saddest part about it is if one looks at Teerwaterskloof, there's a sluice gate that stays open at Teerwaterskloof.
I've heard about that. Which shouldn't be open, right?
Well, the city says it should be open because that sustains the farming lands downstream. And that runs our economy in the Western Cape. So it's all about money. One should basically weigh up the moral standing in between.
And if they closed that, we would have had more water.
We would have had more water. There's billions of litres flowing into that river.
And if they closed it now, would we still be okay?
If you look at the dam, the condition of the dam at the moment, it's basically a desert. It's
have you been there?
Basically a desert. I've been out there twice. The last time about a month ago, and it's probably worse now. So my advice to the city of Cape Town is look at the moral dilemma first. You've been put there by a people who expected you to respect the human dignity, and what you're currently doing to the Cape Townians is total disrespect of dignity.
But I think we're going to, I don't know, I have faith in our new deputy president, the leader of the ruling party. I think he's doing some good stuff. We've got a new Eskom board. He's instituted the state capture report. He's the asset forfeiture unit has raided the Guptas. There's some good things that I'm seeing that I'm like,
have been frozen as
I'm
well,
like, this is good. And this is all only in what, like a couple of weeks. So I think he could step in and take this crisis on and lead it up and sort it out.
You have to remember, Stephen, in the next year, we go to polls. We go to election polls. So a lot of what we're going to see now, and this is what I don't understand of our local government, is we know that in a year's time, they might be in huge trouble in the Western Cape, as far as the party is concerned. They're not doing anything to mitigate that risk.
No.
The ANC, on the other hand, are looking for ways to mitigate the risks of bad publicity. And everything you've just said we have to remember it's an election year. In a year's time, there's going to be an election.
Yeah.
Who's to say that the government's going to be, that the new number one will sustain his momentum as he's currently going? Who's to say? He might.
Well, I think it's better than it was.
Absolutely.
It's 10 million times better than it was.
Absolutely.
So we have to live regardless of...
Yeah.
I think people need to look past the party name and what the party stands for and all that, and look what's going to best suit their interests.
Yeah.
And forget the past. Move on to now.
In finance, we have a term that says past performance is no indication of the future.
Exactly.
So when it comes to politics, I think that applies directly as well.
It does.
So at a changing of a guard, one can never expect the same type of rule as in the past.
But the way that it started, I'm optimistic. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And hopefully it does stay for many years to come.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you an interesting story, and many people might, like 2 years ago, the Israeli ambassador sat here. It doesn't matter whether he's Israeli or whatever. I don't support any of whatever's going on.
Yeah.
He spoke about the crisis here in Cape Town, and he said that he's met with the Western Cape government. He gave them ideas, because obviously they're dry, and so as many other places dry. They have desalination plants. 2 years. If we built plants then, we would have been okay now.
You know, the saddest part about this whole thing, Stephen, is that we have a company in Cape Town that's based in Epping that does desalination for Australia.
Really?
Does desalination for most of Europe, as well as the Sedgefield, the desalination plants when they ran into trouble a few years back. They did the entire desalination, seawater to drinking water. They did that entire process. A local-based company, locally owned by a well-known businessman in Cape Town.
There's also a desalination plant in Mossel Bay, I think.
That's correct. That's correct, because that whole area was stricken at one stage. This gentleman, this businessman, actually approached the city 5 years ago and said to them, "We'll do it at the bare minimum to implement these plants."
But they weren't one of the friends.
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not.
Abdu, we have to get you on again, man. I know time goes so quickly, brother, but thank you so much for your time. And where can people find you on social media?
They can basically find me on Twitter, on Facebook as well. Search my name, Abdu-Raof Hanslo, hashtag.
Yeah.
On Twitter, basically AR Hanslo, or you can find me under one of my publications, the Finance Forum, the Business Developer, or my show, the Finance Forum.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you so for your time. I'm just going to call you Abdu because I'm
quite fine, Stephen.
My intelligence is not as good as yours, man. Thank you, buddy. Another episode of Talking Point with Stephen Taylor. Of course, catch me on social media at Stephen Taylor SA, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Stephen Taylor SA. And of course, thank you to my producer and cameraman, the legendary Bjorn. Have a good one. Take care. God bless.
Hello, everybody. This is Auntie Tima here. And I would like to say cheers because we got day 0 coming on. What the hell is day 0? I'm so worried about Cape Town because, you know, I can't even wash my hair. I have to put the scarf on and everything because I'm trying to save the water. I don't know why and what I'm trying to do, but I'm going to try and save the water as much as possible because this is how much water I'm allowed to drink a day. Through my scarf and everything. I have to drink the water like this. Now, it's very, very important that you save the water. I mean, I remember when I was a little girl, we didn't have to worry about saving water. We used to play in the dams, and now there's no dams to play in anymore. So please, I want you to please look after your water. Don't flush the toilet. Don't flush the toilet unless there is yellow. If there's yellow and it's brown in the toilet, then you can flush the toilet because you must save the water in the toilet. And when it comes to showering, then you must dress like me because you don't have to shower every single day. Or you can shower with a friend and save some water as well. So in Cape Town, day 0 is around the corner and I'm very worried about it because I didn't know what day 0 was because I can't even do mathematics. But then I know that it means that they're going to turn off the taps and everything. And if they turn off the taps and everything, I won't have water to wash my potatoes before I fry them. So I want to please make sure that you look after the water. Cape Town, look after yourself.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mpho Molotlehi, and like many of you, I am gravely concerned. Actually, I take that back. I was gravely concerned probably November last year when probably every single month to 2 months, a new water restriction had been imposed, a new level had been imposed. And I'm beyond infuriated, actually. It makes me so angry, beyond. And it always leaves me asking the question, why were there no contingency plans in place? Especially this entire time. You mean to tell me for as many years as the city of Cape Town has been made aware as to the water levels and how minimal they are becoming, that they did not make any contingency plans at all? Really? Seriously? And also another thing that boggles my mind, why is it that even regardless of how many experts had warned them, how many sound solutions are being offered at the moment as to how we can best alleviate this water crisis, why haven't those been taken seriously? And those are sound solutions from engineering students, from scientists, from water experts, you name it. Yet those solutions still fall on deaf ears. And another thing that infuriates me is how much more real this is becoming with every passing day. The water coming out of my tap right now is brown. It's discolored. It has traces of brown in it, and there is that sediment coming from the water. There are grains of sand at this moment. Even when you boil your water, it's still slightly brown, and it alarms me that the city of Cape Town, a whole body that is entirely responsible for the well-being of the city's inhabitants and also just for the general functioning of the city so that it should run like clockwork, which it isn't right now due to this crisis. It's the fact that this was never an emergency for them. Water is an essential source that we simply cannot live without. The daily functioning and running of our everyday lives, of businesses, depends on the running of water. We can no longer be considered a world-class city because of this consequence, because of what is happening right now. And I am concerned. What are we going to do when day zero arrives? I have been trying to take, myself and my family, we've been trying to take many measures to save water. We are using grey water. We use buckets in our showers. We do not flush unless if it is absolutely necessary. And yet there are some people who are still in denial, who think that it's somebody else's problem. And unfortunately, this has become our problem now. It infuriates me to no end that we are paying a price for the lackadaisical and blasé attitude of the city of Cape Town, even when sound solutions have been offered to them from engineers, from water experts, from scientists. To this day, still falls on deaf ears. And bottled water is leaving the city. Why is that? We're not getting enough answers. And as a citizen, as an inhabitant of the mother city of Cape Town, myself and many of us deserve answers. Why are we not getting the water supply that we needed? And it's all good and well to trust that the weather will compensate for it, because that's what it's come to right now, trusting the forces of nature. And I think that was solely irresponsible on their part, because weather patterns have been erratic for the past 10 years. So I pose this question to you, City of Cape Town. What are you going to do about this? Day zero is around the corner. It's all good and well to announce it, but what are you going to do about it?